This authorized audiobook of Breaking the Shell, Accessing Soul History for Wisdom, Clarity, and Guidance 5. Spiritual Awakening Book 7 by Seraphina Hartwell is presented by Soul Sanctuary Audio. Copyright Seraphina Hartwell. Introduction. Cracking open the self. There comes a moment in every awakened life when the exterior we've spent years constructing begins to tremble. It may begin with a whisper or arrive like an earthquake, but either way, it signals the beginning of the end of living solely from the shell of identity, ego, and conditioning. And simultaneously, it marks the beginning of a far more profound and liberating journey. Awakening to the soul. Breaking the shell is not a manual or a quick fix. It is a companion, a guide for those who have felt the discomfort of living a life that no longer fits. If you've ever had the creeping suspicion that something deeper is calling you, that your emotions carry hidden truths, or that your longing for meaning is not a weakness but a sacred signpost, this book is for you. In our culture, we are taught how to build identities, chase achievements, and present polished versions of ourselves to the world. But we are rarely taught how to listen inward, how to fall apart with grace, or how to trust the chaos that often precedes transformation. This book is here to change that. It honors not just the light and love associated with spiritual growth, but the grief, disorientation, and rebirth that are equally part of the path. Each chapter of Breaking the Shell explores a different stage of the spiritual awakening process. From the initial cracks in our conditioned worldview to the vulnerable, powerful emergence of our soul truth, these pages are woven with stories, insights, reflective questions, and grounding practices. You will not be handed a straight path, but you will find something deeper, a spiral of return, a deeper homecoming to your true self. Let this book hold space for your journey. Let it affirm that you are not broken, wrong, or too sensitive. You are awakening. And breaking the shell is not a breakdown. It is a breakthrough. 1. Cracks in the shell. The call to wake up. There is a moment, quiet, yet seismic, when the life you've so carefully built begins to unravel in whispers. At first, the signs are easy to dismiss. You might notice a growing disinterest in routines that once brought comfort. You may feel emotionally distant from conversations, relationships, or work that previously energized you. A gnawing sense of restlessness begins to grow. And then, without warning, a quiet voice inside you begins to whisper, "There has to be more than this." This is the first crack in the shell. It is not a failure or a malfunction. It is the sacred call to awaken. The ache beneath the surface. The call to wake up often arrives through emotional discomfort, not necessarily through trauma or crisis, though those can accelerate the process, but through a subtle ache that won't go away. This ache is your soul signaling that the life built on societal scripts and inherited expectations is too small for who you truly are becoming. Maybe you've checked off all the boxes: career, relationship, house stability, and yet something within still stirs. A part of you yearns for authenticity, for depth, for freedom. You begin to ask, who am I beyond what I do? Why does this all feel hollow? What would it mean to live in alignment with my soul? These are not dramatic questions. They are sacred invitations. The soul rarely shouts. Instead, it beckons gently, persistently, asking us to come closer. The early signs of awakening. Many people miss the early signs of awakening because they look like everyday discomforts. You may begin to feel disenchanted with your job, disconnected from long-term friends, or unmotivated by goals that once excited you. Perhaps you find yourself avoiding small talk, craving solitude, or feeling emotions more intensely than before. These signs are not mere mood shifts. They are evidence that your inner world is beginning to outgrow the shell of your constructed identity. You may notice a longing for deeper conversations and connections, a sensitivity to inauthenticity in others and in yourself, a new awareness of how much energy you expend on people-pleasing, a desire to slow down and reconnect with yourself. The more you listen, the clearer the messages become. But with clarity comes disruption, resistance, and fear. As the call grows louder, so does the resistance. The ego, your psychological survival system, doesn't like change. It fears the unknown and clings to the familiar, even if the familiar is unfulfilling. So when your soul begins to awaken, your ego responds with fear-based thoughts. This is just a phase. You should be grateful. What if you lose everything? These fears are normal. They do not mean you are on the wrong path. In fact, they often confirm that you are stepping into something real. The shell begins to crack, not because you're breaking down, but because you are expanding. From numb to awake. One of the most powerful signs that you are beginning to wake up is a shift from numbness to emotional aliveness. This can be both beautiful and overwhelming. Emotions that have long been suppressed, grief, rage, joy, longing, begin to surface. This is a sacred resensitization. The soul feels deeply. It cannot thrive in numbness or over-intellectualization. As you awaken, you may cry more often, feel the beauty in simple moments more vividly, and experience a new level of empathy for yourself and others. This is not weakness. This is the birth of presence. Turning toward the soul. Waking up is not about rejecting your past. It is about reclaiming your essence. It is about peeling back the layers of conditioning to reconnect with the truth of who you are. This truth often emerges not through logic, but through lived experience. You begin to feel pulled toward practices, places, and people that resonate with your emerging self. You may begin journaling your dreams and emotions. Feel drawn to meditation or contemplative walks. Reconnect with creativity or spirituality. Seek solitude, not as escape, but as nourishment. These shifts are the soul's way of orienting you inward. They are the roots of a new foundation. Normalizing the disorientation. Awakening is rarely linear. It often begins with a mess. You may feel confused about what's happening, anxious about what you might lose, isolated as others may not understand, afraid to speak about your experience. This disorientation is part of the process. You are not alone. Millions are waking up quietly, courageously, sometimes painfully. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are in the sacred middle of becoming. Reflective questions for the soul. To support your unfolding, consider journaling on these questions. When did I first sense that something in my life no longer fit? What parts of me feel most alive right now? Where do I feel a quiet longing I haven't fully honored? What do I fear might happen if I truly follow my soul? Grounding practices for early awakening. To stay centered during this tender stage, try 1. Body awareness. Practice body scans to connect with your physical self. Ask, what sensations am I feeling? What do they need? 2. Nature walks. Let nature ground you. Pay attention to the cycles, the stillness, the aliveness all around why. OU. 3. Honest expression. Write and censor journal entries. Speak your truth, even if just to yours. ELF. 4. Rest and hydration. Awakening is energetically intense. Treat your body G. NTLY. 5. Community or mentorship. Seek others who honor the spiritual journey. Sometimes one validating voice is all you need to continue. E. In the next chapter, we will explore what happens when the shell truly begins to fall away, when the constructs of our lives, beliefs, and identities no longer hold, and we step into the raw terrain of the unknown. This is where the real journey begins. NS. 2. Shattering illusions. When the world stops making sense, the shattering doesn't always begin with a bang. Sometimes it begins with silence, a strange emptiness that creeps in where certainty used to reside. You wake up one day, and suddenly the stories you've believed about yourself and the world no longer hold. Things that once seemed concrete now feel like smoke slipping through you. Our fingers. This is the beginning of disillusionment. And though it feels like everything is falling apart, what's really crumbling is the false, the collapse of the constructed self. Most of us are taught who we should be long before we're allowed to discover who we truly are. We inherit identities: good student, responsible daughter, strong provider, kind friend, and internalize roles that often silence our authentic voice. This is how we buoy. LD our shell. But awakening invites a radical disruption. It begins dismantling everything that isn't real. The result can feel like the world is ending, but in truth, it's your limited identity that is dissolving. You may feel disoriented, as if you've lost your bearings, betrayed by beliefs you once held dear, lost in your relationships, career, or even SPI, ritual practice, anxious about no longer knowing what to trust. This is the part no one prepares you for, the quiet chaos of unlearning. But this unlearning is sacred. You are making space for truth. When beliefs begin to crumble, beliefs are scaffolding. They give us something to hold on to. But many of our beliefs were inherited, not chosen. We were taught what to think, not how to feel, discern, or intuit. When awakening arrives, these hand-me-down beliefs begin to falter. Common shifts include questioning religious or spiritual ideologies that no longer resonate, reevaluating societal definitions of success, beauty, and worth, uncovering unconscious biases and internalized conditioning, recognizing where fear, not truth, shaped your choices. This process can be terrifying, but it is also liberating, because once you realize that your reality was shaped by others, you gain the power to shape it consciously. The void between stories. When the old beliefs fall, there's often a period of nothingness. The mind panics in this gap. It wants a new identity, a new story, something to grasp. But the soul works differently. It invites us to rest in the void. In the void, you might feel emotionally raw and hypersensitive, existentially confused. Who am I really? Spiritually disconnected or cynical. A deep yearning for truth and peace. This is the soul's cocoon, a sacred space of undoing. And while it feels lonely, you are never alone. The soul is closer than ever. It is just speaking a language the mind hasn't yet learned to understand. Grieving the false self. Letting go of an identity, even one that caused pain, requires grief. Because that self kept you safe. It helped you survive. It earned approval, maintained order, and secured belonging. To grieve it is to honor the version of you who did the best they could. This grief is not linear. It comes in waves. Sadness for all the years lived in hiding. Anger at systems that told you who to be. Fear of who you might become. Hope for something more real, more alive. Grieve generously. It is a sign of love for yourself, for your journey, for the truth emerging beneath the rubble. Symptom. MS of illusion shattering. You may experience mental, emotional, and physical symptoms as illusions dissolve. These may include brain OG and difficulty focusing, heightened sensitivity to sounds, lights, and energy, emotional surges without clear triggers, sleep disturbances or vivid dreams, These are signs of your inner world recalibrating. Be gentle. Your system is releasing what is no longer aligned. Building from the inside out. As the old falls away, a new foundation begins to form. Quietly, gradually, you might begin to feel a desire to simplify your life, curiosity about alternative ways of living and being, a call to see, create or express authentically, a longing to reconnect with the earth, the body, or the divine. This is the beginning of soul alignment. You are not just breaking apart, you are breaking open. Tool S for navigating the shattering. 1. Radical honesty. Speak the truth about what you're feeling, even if it's messy. Supper. Eshin keeps the illusion alive. 2. Grounding rituals. Anchor your nervous system with practices like breath, work, yoga, or touching the earth. 3. Discernment over judgment. Notice what no longer resonates, but do so with compassion. Everything SE. Reveta purpose, even the illusions. 4. Sacred pause. Resist the urge to rebuild prematurely. Allow the space for your real self to emerge. 5. Ask new questions. Instead of who am I supposed to be? What feels true in this moment? Reflective questions. What beliefs or identities are beginning to feel false or restrictive? Where in my life am I pretending? How does it feel to let go of certainty? What truths are quietly emerging beneath the RU? Invitation to trust the unknown. This chapter of awakening is deeply destabilizing, but also deeply transformative. The more you let the old fall, the more spacious your soul becomes. Don't rush to fill the void. Let unknown teach you. Let silence speak. You are not losing yourself. You are meeting yourself, the one that live. Beneath the stories, beyond the shell. In the next chapter, we will explore the grief that arises when we mourn the version of ourselves that no longer fits, and how that grief clears space are something profoundly true to take root. 3. The grief of letting go. Mourning the false self. When a snake sheds its skin, it doesn't mourn the old layer. But humans are different. We grieve the false self even as we move toward the truth. Letting go of a version of yourself that was never fully authentic is still a loss. That identity, no matter how constructed, protected you. It gave you belonging, purpose, and predictability. So when it starts to dissolve, grief arrives like a wave, strong, disorienting, and completely sacred. Recognizing the layers of the false self. The false self is not a lie. It's a version of you shaped by survival. You learned to smile when you felt like crying. You performed success because that's what was expected. You absorbed beliefs, behaviors, and roles to feel safe and accept. This self often forms in childhood as we respond to our environment. And it becomes more defined in adolescence and adulthood as we align with societal norms, family expectations, and cultural SCR. It is an adaptive identity, but not an etern. Al-1. When awakening begins, this identity no longer fits. You begin to feel it tightening around you, suffocating your spirit. The unraveling begins, and with it comes grief. Naming the losses. Grief in awakening is not always obvious. It can masquerade as depression, fatigue, or numbness. But underneath, it's mourning. The belief that pleasing others would bring fulfillment. The time spent chasing goals that weren't truly yours. The emotional safety that came from pretending. The community or relationships you might lose as you change. These are real losses, and they deserve acknowledgement. Just because the false self wasn't the whole truth doesn't mean it didn't serve as a purpose. The emotional terrain of letting go. Grief doesn't move in a straight line. It's a spiraling process. Some days you'll feel spacious and free. Other days you'll ache for the comfort of the old self. This is normal. Is healing. You might feel denial. Maybe I can still make the old life work. Anger. Why did I spend so long living like that? Bargaining. If I just do this one more thing, maybe I won't have to change. Sadness. I miss who I used to be, even if it wasn't all true. Acceptance. This is part of becoming who I truly am. These stages are not linear checkpoints. They are waves. Let yourself feel each one. The more fully you allow your grief, the more deeply you clear space for what is real. Mourning in a culture that doesn't pause. Our society doesn't always make room for grief, especially invisible kind. There are no ceremonies for losing a version of yourself. No condolences for waking up to a life that no longer feels aligned. This can make the process feel isolating. But this is why grief must be honored. To mourn the false self is to reclaim your humanity. It is to say, my life matters enough to feel this loss. My truth matters enough to let go of the lie. Give yourself what culture cannot. Create rituals of release. Light candles. Write letters to your former self. Take long walks. Sob into your pillow. Let grief become your initiation. Honoring the gifts of the false self. Even as we release the false self, we can honor what it gave us. The version of you that adapted, performed, and endured deserves your gratitude. It kept you safe when safety wasn't guaranteed. It helped you belong when belonging felt out of reach. It made decisions with the ledge it had at the time. That self is not your enemy. It is a chapter, and honoring it allows you to close it with compassion. You can say, "Thank you for protecting me. I now have the strength to live more truthfully. I carry your wisdom, but I release your shape." The alchemy of grief. Grief is not a dead end. It is an alchemical fire. As you allow the sadness, rage, and regret to move through you, they don't just leave empty space. They become compost. They fertilize the soil for your rebirth. Out of mourning emerges deeper compassion for yourself and others. Clarity about your values and desires. Courage to create new patterns and relationships. A fierce calm. Commitment to living authentically. You are not unraveling to fall apart. You are unraveling to become whole. Practices for moving through grief. 1. Grief dialogues. Write a letter to the version of yourself why. Letting go of. Say goodbye. Thank it. Express anger. Speak truth. 2. Breath work or somatic release. Grief lives in the body. Breath move me. And sound can help release it. Crying is sacred. Shaking is sacred. Screaming into a pillow is sacred. 3. Sacred witnessing. Share your grief with someone who can hold space without trying to fix you. Times being seen as the medicine. 4. Rituals of release. Burn a written list of old identities, habits, or beliefs you are releasing. Let the fire transform them. 5. Nature immersion. Let the earth hold your sorrow. Trees don't judge. Oceans absorb tear. Nature knows how to grieve and grow. Reflective prompts. Parts of me am I currently mourning? How did the false self serve me in the past? What fears arise as I let go of that identity? What would it like to grieve without rushing to heal? Meeting the soul beneath the loss. As the grief softens, something begins to shimmer beneath the surface. A quieter self, a more honest self, the one that always there, waiting for space to emerge. This self is not built on performance. It doesn't chase worthiness. It simply is. And as you learn to live from this place, you begin to experience freedom. Not the freedom of escaping responsibility, but the freedom of being who you truly are. In the next chapter, we will journey into the wilderness, the sacred in-between place where identity dissolves, clarity is scarce, and the soul invites you to walk by intuition, not instruction. This is the passage where you learn to live without a map, guided only by the light within. 4. The inner wilderness. Walking without a map. There is a sacred space between who you were and who you are becoming. It's a place of uncertainty, silence, and deep internal reordering. P. This is the inner wilderness, the no man's land of the soul. Here, the old maps no longer work, and the new ones have not yet formed. P. At first, it feels like being lost. But over time, this wilderness reveals itself as a place of gestation, a necessary passage through which true soul alignment is born. P. The unmapped terrain. When you no longer fit into your former life, and the new life hasn't yet taken shape, you enter liminality, a threshold space. You are not who you were, but you are not yet who you will be. P. In this space, questions replace answers. Stillness replaces striving. And rather than controlling the next steps, you are asked to surrender into not knowing. P. This can feel terrifying. In a culture obsessed with productivity and certainty, we're conditioned to believe that not knowing is failure. But in spiritual awakening, the wilderness is not failure. It is the forge. P. Letting go of the need for a plan. The first initiation of the wilderness is the release of plans. This is not passive apathy, but an active trust. It is saying, tongue sticking out, I don't need to have it all figured out. I trust that clarity will come in its time. I am willing to listen instead of force. P. Letting go of the plan doesn't mean you stop moving. It means you begin moving in a new way, led by intuition rather than intellect, soul nudges rather than societal deadlines. P. This new movement is slower, deeper, quieter. P. And it often brings up discomfort, especially for high achievers or chronic fixers. But it also brings profound peace. P. The wilderness is a mirror. In the silence of this in-between, everything you've been avoiding comes to the surface. Old pain, buried dreams, unconscious fears, they all rise for review. P. Rather than pathologizing this, see it as purification. The wilderness mirrors what's within, so that nothing false can follow you forward. You may tongue sticking out, relive old wounds that need final grieving. P. Reevaluate your values, priorities, and boundaries. Question your motives and motivations. Confront your relationship with control, uncertainty, and trust. This is deep soul work, and it cannot be rushed. P. Loneliness and solitude. One of the hardest parts of the wilderness is the loneliness. People may not understand what you're going through. You may withdraw from relationships that no longer align. The noise of the outer world fades, and you're left with your own company. P. But solitude is not abandonment. It is invitation. This is your chance to tongue sticking out. Reconnect with your inner child. Develop intimacy with your intuition. Create from a place of authenticity. Hear your soul speak in the absence of external noise. P. In solitude, your inner voice becomes louder. And that voice is the compass that will eventually guide you home. P. Losing faith to find it. In the wilderness, even your spiritual beliefs may be stripped. What once felt comforting may now feel hollow. You may feel tongue sticking out, disconnected from the divine, cynical about practices that once inspired you, resistant to dogma or systems that once provided stability. This loss of faith is not a sign of failure. It is a refinement. You are shedding the borrowed beliefs to make space for direct experience. You are no longer seeking the divine outside yourself. You are discovering it within. P. Practices for navigating the wilderness. P. 1. Daily presence. Instead of planning far ahead, ground yourself in the now. Ask, what do I need in this moment? P. 2. Journaling as compass. Use stream of consciousness writing to track your emotional and spiritual terrain. Don't look for answers. Look for truth. P. 3. Symbolic wandering. Walk without destination. Let your body guide you. Notice what you're drawn to. Let life speak symbolically. P. 4. Silence as medicine. Spend time without input. No music, no podcasts, no conversation. Let silence teach. P. 5. Soul questions. What is unraveling within me? What am I learning about myself through this disorientation? Where do I feel the faint pulse of truth? P. Refusing the rush. One of the most radical acts in the wilderness is to refuse the rush. To say, I will not force clarity. This refusal is a form of trust. It allows the deeper truth to emerge, not from fear, but from soul alignment. Trust that tongue sticking out. You are not behind. Nothing essential can be lost. Your timing is divine. Recognizing the first signs of emergence. P. Eventually, something begins to stir. You start to feel a spark of desire. Return. P. Ing. An idea that feels energizing. A sense of rightness in your body. A gentle pull toward something new. This is the signpost. Not to rush forward, but to begin walking with care. You are not exiting the wilderness. You are integrating it. You are learning how to carry the wild within you. P. Integration before action. The final stage of the wilderness is integration. Before you rebuild, you must ask, tongue sticking out, what truths did I discover here? What needs to come with me? What must be left behind? Rebuilding is sacred. P. Do it slowly. Do it honestly. Build a life from soul, not Shel. P. In the next chapter, we will explore what it means to hear the voice within, the subtle, powerful guidance that emerges. P. When we stop outsourcing truth and start listening inward. This is the turning point where soul begins to lead. P. 5. The voice within. Listening beyond noise. In the quiet after the storm, a softer voice begins to rise. It is not loud or insistent. It whispers. It pulses. It often sounds more like a feeling than a thought. This is the voice within, the voice of the soul. After you've let go of the noise, the plans, the performance, and the old identity, you arrive at a kind of silence. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of presence. It is in this space that the soul begins to speak clearly. The soul speaks in subtlety. The soul doesn't yell. It doesn't use fear or manipulation. It speaks through intuition, sensation, and resonance. It comes as a gut feeling, a moment of clarity, a wave of peace in the middle of confusion, an image or memory that won't leave you. Learning to hear this voice means learning to slow down, to listen with your whole being. It is a radical act in a world designed for distraction. Distinguishing the inner voice from the inner critic. One of the challenges in hearing your soul is distinguishing it from the inner critic. The critic is loud, harsh, and urgent. It says things like, "You'll never get this right. You're wasting time. You should be doing more." The voice of the soul, on the other hand, is calm, wise, and invitational. It might say, "This path feels lighter. Take one small step. You're allowed to rest." The more time you spend in quiet, the more easily you'll feel the difference. The critic demands. The soul invites. Cultivating soul-level listening. Listening to your soul requires practice. It's not a switch you flip. It's a muscle you strengthen. 1. Create sacred space. Regularly carve out time to be without input. Let the mind quiet. Create an environment where intuition can rise. 2. Tune into the body. The body often hears the soul before the mind does. Notice where you feel open, where you feel constricted. Let your body's signals guide you. 3. Follow energy. What energizes you, even if it doesn't make sense? What drains you, even if it's good on paper? 4. Honor the whispers. You don't need a full plan to follow the soul. Honor the next small nudge. The path is often revealed one step at a time. 5. Journal the inner dialogues. Write conversations between your ego and your soul. Let the soul speak freely. Let it surprise you. When guidance feels absent, sometimes, even in the quiet, we can't hear the soul. This can happen when we're still grieving or afraid. We're expecting the voice to sound a certain way. We're attached to a specific outcome. In these moments, patience is required. Sometimes silence is the message. It's the soul saying, "Trust me, rest here." You can still act in alignment, even without a clear voice. Return to your values. Choose what feels kind, honest, and life-giving. The soul will catch up when you're ready, trusting your inner authority. As you begin to hear and trust your soul, you may face resistance from the outside world. Others might question your choices. You might second-guess yourself. This is where inner authority becomes essential. Awakening is not about becoming better at following rules. It's about becoming devoted to your own inner truth. This doesn't mean being rigid or ego-driven. True inner authority is humble. It listens, adjusts, and responds, but it does not abandon itself for approval. Ask yourself, am I betraying myself to be accepted? Is this decision rooted in fear or freedom? What would my soul choose here? Navigating doubt and discernment. Doubt is not the enemy of the soul. It's a teacher. It asks you to pause, to check in, to clarify. Discernment is key. Not every inner voice is your soul. Some are echoes of old conditioning, unhealed trauma, or societal programming. This is why grounding, reflection, and support matter. Over time, your discernment sharpens. You learn the flavor of truth. It's not always easy or pleasant, but it always feels clean. It doesn't leave a residue of anxiety or self-abandonment. Living by inner guidance. Once you begin hearing the voice within, the challenge becomes living by it. This takes courage. It means saying no when others expect a yes, choosing rest over productivity, leaving the known for the soul aligned, letting go of timelines and expectations. This is not reckless. It is responsible to your spirit. It is sustainable because it is real. And with time, you begin to see the fruit. Peace that doesn't rely on circumstances. Synchronicities that affirm your path. Relationships that honor your truth. A life that feels like yours. Practices for deepening connection with the soul voice. 1. Morning pages. Write stream of consciousness first thing in the morning. Let the soul speak before the world does. 2. Guided imagery. Visualize your inner wise self. What do they look like? What message do they have for you today? 3. Movement meditation. Let your body move intuitively to music. See what emotions or insights arise. 4. Soul altars. Create a space that reminds you of your inner truth. Include symbols, quotes, photos, or natural objects. 5. Ask and receive. Each day, ask your soul a question. Be still. Notice what arises. Trust that answers come in many forms. Reflective prompts. What does my soul want me to know today? Where in my life am I still outsourcing truth? What would change if I trusted my inner voice? How does my body react when I honor or ignore my intuition? becoming a steward of your truth. When you begin living from soul, you become a steward of something sacred. You are no longer reacting. You are responding. You are no longer proving. You are expressing. You are no longer lost. You are becoming. This is the beginning of a new relationship with life, one that flows from the inside out. In the next chapter, we will descend into the body, because soul doesn't only speak through spirit and intuition. It also speaks through the somatic self. The next phase of awakening is embodiment, grounding your spiritual truth in your physical form and honoring the body as the temple of the divine. 6. Body as temple. Healing through the soma. The awakening path eventually brings us home to the body. After the mind has questioned, the heart has grieved, and the soul has whispered, we are invited to descend into the sacred vessel that holds it all, the body. This is not a metaphorical invitation. It is literal, tactile, and transformational. To embody the soul is to live its truth through the nervous system, muscles, breath, and bones. The body is not separate from spirit. Many spiritual traditions have historically favored transcendence, rising above the body, the emotions, and earthly experience. But in awakening, we come to realize that enlightenment is not escape. It is incarnatio, and the soul does not hover outside of us. It lives through us, and the body is its sacred channel. Every sensation, ache, and movement is a form of communication. And when we ignore the body, we silence one of the soul's clearest voices. Trauma, suppression, and disconnect. Tie-in. For many, the body is not a place of ease or tea. Rust. It has been wounded, shamed, ignored, or pushed beyond its lee. Myths. We've learned to override it in the name of productivity, aesthetics, or control. Signs of body disconnection include chronic fatigue or pain with no clear cause, difficulty sensing emotions or bodhi, ly needs, overthinking, and anxiety, a sense of numbness or detachment. These are not failures. They are invitations. The body holds our unprocessed stories. When we begin to reconnect, we do so not to fix the body, but to honor it, listening through sensation. To reconnect with the soma is to learn the language of sensation. This language is subtle, nonverbal, and deeply wise. Begin to notice. Where do I feel tight or restricted? Where do I feel open or relaxed? What happens in my body when I speak truth? When I lie, what does my body need in this moment? By asking these questions gently and regularly, we rebuild trust. The body begins to speak more clearly, and we begin to follow with respect. The nervous system as sacre, ed instrument. Our nervous system is not just a biological mechanism. It is an energetic tuning fork. When dysregulated through trauma, stress, or chronic fear, it limits our ability to feel peace, pleasure, or presence. Awakening the body includes tending to the nervous system, regulation through breath. Long, slow exhales calm the vagus nerve and signal safety. Touch and grounding. Place a hand on your heart or press your feet into the floor. Movement, gentle stretching, shaking, or dancing release. Stored energy. You don't need complex rituals. You need consistent, compassionate presence, somatic memory, and emotional release. The body stores emotion. Every uncried tear, every stifled scream, every moment of I'm fine when you weren't lives in the tissues. As you reconnect, old feelings may surface. This is not regression. It is integration. You are not broke, and you are healing. Let the tears come. Let the trembles rise. Let the breath become ragged. This is the sacred exhale. The body doesn't lie. It releases when it feels safe enough to do so. Pleasure, presence, and embodiment. Healing the body is not just about pain. It is also about pleasure, the kind that arises from Alavine. Not performance. Pleasure in a hot shower, bare feet on grass, the stretch of waking up, the warmth of the sun on your skin. These are holy experiences. They remind us that awakening is not only about inner work. It is about inner aliveness. Let your body become a sanctuary of presence. Practices for embodiment. 1. Body scanning. Close your eyes. Slowly move your attention from head to toe. Notice without judging. What do you feel? 2. Intuitive movement. Put on music. Move in a way that feels nourish. Don't perform, respond. 3. Grounding touch. Place your hand on your belly or chest. Breathe into that space. Let your body know you're listening. 4. Restorative stillness. Lie down. Let go of doing. Trust that stillness is productive for the soul. 5. Somatic journaling. After any emotional experience, ask, what did my body feel? What does it want me to know? Body and boundaries. Reconnecting with the body also helps us rebuild healthy boundaries. The body knows when something feels unsafe or overexed, dead. It tightens. It CTS. Learn to honor these cues. A knot in your stomach during a conversation. A headache after certain environments. A sense of peace when around certain people. Your body is a boundary oracle. Let it lead. The sacre, edness of touch and self-compassion. So many of us carry touch deprivation. No. Just physically but emotionally. Begin offer. Gentle, loving touch to yourself. Self-massage. Holding your ow and hand. Wrapping yourself in a blanket. These small acts are huge gestures of reparenting. They tell your I am here. I will not abandon you. Reflective prompts. When do I feel most connected to my body? What emotions or stories do I carry in my physical form? What would it mean to treat my body as sacred? Where do I still override or ignore my body's signals? Integration. Living from the Soma. To live from the Som is to live grounded, aware, and responsive. It is to let the body be a co-creator of your awakening. Not so, mediating to manage or transcend, but to cherish. You don't have to get it perfect. Some days you'll be present. Other days you'll numb. The goal is not control. It's connection. The body is your temple, your compass, your anchor. In the next chapter, we will begin to explore what it means to emerge not as a performance, but as a soulful, embodied, walking in alignment with truth. 7. Emergence, living from the soul self. There comes a time in the awakening journey when, after the release, the grief, the unraveling, and the silence, something begins to shift. It's not a grand fireworks moment. It's subtle. A sense of aliveness returns. A desire to engage with the world again emerges, not from obligation, but from authenticity. This is emergence. Is the quiet miracle of living from soul self. What emergence is and what it is not. Emergence is not about being healed or finished. It's about realignment. It's about letting the soul take the lead and allowing life to unfold from that inner alignment. You are not returning to your old life. You are creating a new way of being. This might look quieter, simpler, more present, but is also more powerful because it is rooted in truth. Emergence does not mean you no longer struggle. It means you no longer abandon yourself when you do. The signs of emergence. You may notice an increase in clarity, even if not all answers are present. A willingness to express yourself more honestly. A sense of peace that is not dependent on outcomes. A natural attraction to what feels nourishing and authentic. You feel less compelled to fix or prove. You begin trusting the unfolding. You begin choosing yourself. Reclaiming your voice. Living from the soul, self, means reclaiming your voice, not the voice that was shaped by expectation, but the one that rises from deep within. This voice speaks truth, even when it shakes, knows when to say yes and when to say no, respects silence as much as speech. It is not performative, it is expressive. You may begin to notice how often you use to filter or edit yourself. Now, you speak with intention, rooted in soul. Redefining success and purpose. In emergence, your relationship with success transforms. No longer dictated by external benchmarks, success becomes an inner state. Did I honor my truth today? Did I act in alignment with my value? Did I listen to my body, my soul, my nay? Purpose also evolves. It's not a job title. It's a way of being. You may still engage with the world, create, lead, or serve, but from a place of overflow, not depletion. You're no longer chasing meaning. You're creating it, building a life that matches your truth. As you emerge, the outer world begins to shift. You might change careers or redefine you. Our work. Release relationships that no longer align. Move to environments that nor. Issue. Create art, business, or service rooted in your essence. These changes are not forced. They arise naturally from within. You begin to build a life that reflects who you've become. Boundaries as acts of devotion. To live as the soul self, boundaries become non-negotiable. Not as walls, but as sacred containers that protect your energy. You say no to what dims your light. You say yes to what ignites your spirit. You no longer seek to be understood by everyone, only to be true to yourself. Boundaries are not selfish. They are self-honoring. They create the conditions for your emergence to be sustainable. Relationships in the light of truth. As you live more soulfully, your relationships shift. Some may fall away. Others may deepen. You begin to relate from essence, not ego. Authentic relationships in emergence are characterized by mutual respect and truth-telling. Freedom rather than obligation. Support that honors growth, not sameness. Space for solitude as well as connection. You attract and sustain relationships that feel like home, not because they mimic the past, but because they meet you in the present. Creativity and soul expression. Emergence often unlocks creativity, not necessarily as artistry, but as expression. You might write, dance, paint, or sing. Speak truth in new ways. Create offerings, rituals, or practices. Innovate in your work or community. This is soul moving through form. It's not about being impressive. It's about being you. Let your expression be messy, wild, unedited. Let it be sacred. Let it be enough. Practices for living from the soul self. 1. Daily soul check-in. Ask, what does my soul need today? Let that guide your priorities. 2. Embodied decision-making. Make choices from the body. Ask, how does this feel in my gut, heart, breath? 3. Soul scheduling. Design your day to include pauses, joy, and nourishment, not just productivity. 4. Truth-telling rituals. Speak one honest thing daily, to yourself or someone else. 5. Presence practices. Return to the now. Place a hand on your heart. Breathe. You're here. Reflective prompts. What feels most alive for me? Right now. Where am I still hiding or performing? How do I define success in this season? What truth is asking to be lived? Becoming the living invitation. To live from the soul self is not to preach, but to become. You become the embodiment of why. Our message: your life becomes the teaching. Your presence becomes the invitation. You don't need to convince anyone. You on. Ly need to be. This is emergence, not a return to who you were, but a becoming of who you truly are. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to remain rooted in your soul self while navigating the outer world, how to share your light without burning out, and how to balance authenticity with daily life demands. 8. Returning whole. Sharing the light, why? Without burning out. Awakening is not the end. It is a beginning of living differently in a world that may not have changed with you. As your soul emerges and you begin to live from a deeper truth, you will feel called to share that truth, to contribute, to give, to serve. This chapter is about how to do that, WHI. Staying whole. Integration before expression. Before you teach, offer, or guide, you must first live what you've learned. The integration phase is often overlooked, but it is crucial. Without it, you share from intellectual knowledge, rather embodied wisdom. True integration means living your values consistently, checking in with your soul before making decisions, knowing when you need est instead of output. You are not responsible for saving anyone. You are responsible for honoring your own truth first. From that grounded place, your light natu rally extends outward. The urge to give back. It's natural to want to share what has changed your life. But this urge can become distorted if driven by ego, codependency, or unresolved wounds. Ask yourself, am I sharing to be seen or validated? Am I giving beyond my capacity? Am I honoring my own rhythms? When you share from overflow, your gifts are sustainable. When you share from depletion, burnout is inevitable. Redefining service. Service is not self-sacrifice. It is soul alignment. True service is anchored in boundaries, guided by joy and resonance. Responsive, not rescuing. You are not meant to be everything for everyone. You are meant to be yourself, fully, honestly. That is more than enough. Boundaries as sacred practice. To return whole, you must protect your light. Boundaries are not about rejection. They are about responsibility. They ensure that you can continue to show up, without betraying yourself. Essential boundaries include saying no without guilt, taking time offline or in solitude, declining invitations that don't resonate, limiting emotional labor for others. Boundaries allow your light to shine steadily, not burn out in a flare. The shadow of overgiving. Many awakened individuals are empaths or sensitives. You may feel others' pain acutely. This can lead to overgiving, enmeshment, and martyrdom. Signs you're overextending. Chronic exhaustion, resentment or bitterness, neglecting your own need. Feeling responsible for others. Ions. To return whole, you must unlearn the belief that your worth is tied to how much you give. Your worth is inherent. Your rest is sacred. Choosing resonant contribute. Not all light sharing is equal. Tune into what is yours to do. Your soul work will feel expansive, not contracting, energizing, even when it challenges you, rooted in truth, not obligation. You may contribute through conversation, mentorship, or writing, art, healing, or activism, parenting, community work, or quiet presence. Your impact is not measured in volume. It is measured in authenticity. Staying rooted in your center. To sustain your emergence, develop practices that return you to your center. These might include morning silence before checking messages, movement that grounds you, yoga, walking, dance, journaling, or creative expression. Regular connection with nature. Return to your body. Return to why. Our breath. Return to your own inner sanctuary. Dealing with misunderstanding. Not everyone will understand your awakening. Some may resist, judge, or withdraw. This is not your fault. Stay true to your path by letting go of the need to convince, blessing those who no longer align, surrounding yourself with Soul Ali, Ned community. You are not air to perform. You are here to embody. Embodied leadership. When you live from soul, you become a leader, not in the traditional sense, but in energetic presence. People feel your alignment. They feel safe around your honesty. Embodied leaders. Listen more than they preach. Model rather than instruct. Rest rather than hustle. Uplift rather than control. You become the lighthouse, not chasing, just standing ste. Audi in your light. Reflective prompts. Where am I giving from obligation rather than joy? What boundary support my wholeness? How do I want to contribute without losing myself? What does sustainable soul expression look like for me? Practices for ST. Eyeing whole while serving. 1. Energy check-ins. Ask, do I feel open or drained after this interact? Tie-in. Adjust accordingly. 2. Sacred transitions. Take time to shift between activities. Breathe. Ground. Clear your energy. 3. Permission to pause. Rest without guilt. Silence is productive. You are allowed to not know, not do. For visibility with integrity, share only what feels integrated. Keep sacred what still feels tender or incomplete. 5. Recalibrate often. Return to solitude, nature, or creative practice when the world feels heavy. Returning to yourself again and again. Burnout happens when you give away you haven't yet anchored. Share only what feels embodied. Offer only what you can sustain. You are not the message. You are the messenger. And your most powerful offering is your presence. In the final chapter, we'll explore the spiral nature of awakening, the cyclical return to the self that deepens with every turn, reminding us that the journey never ends, but continues to unfold us into fuller truth, fuller love, and fuller being. 9. The spiral path. Awakening as a way of life. Spiritual awakening is not a straight line. It's a spiral. We circle back, deeper each time. What we thought we resolved resurfaces with new nuance. What we thought we understood evolves with new layers. This is not failure. It is sacred design. The spiral path honors cycles over destinations. It invites us to return, not because we've regressed, but because we are ready to meet ourselves at a deeper level. The illusion of final arrival. There is a myth, and spiritual C. Urkels, that any day, we arrive, we transcend, we stay in bliss. But the truth is more humble and more powerful. Awakening is a lifelong becoming. We shed layers. We grow. We forget and remember. We rise and fall. And each cycle brings us closer to truth. Not a static truth, but a living one. When we release the need for a final state, we and to the beauty of continuous unfolding. Repetition as refinement. Returning to old lessons doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're deepening. The spiral teaches us what once triggered panic now invites compassion. At once felt unbearable now feels manageable. What once required effort now flows naturally. This is grace. This is integration. This is mastery, not as perfection, but as presence. Living in rhythm, not rigidity. In near, culture teaches us to go up and forward. The spira, L invites us to ebb and FL. Ow. It mirrors nature. The moon waxes and wanes. C. Suns rise and fall. The breath inhales and X. Alish. Living the spiral mean. S. Honoring your cycles. When you feel bright, share. When you feel dim, rest. When you fey, L lost, listen. Nothing is wasted. Everything belongs. Spiral anchors. What grounds you as you evolve. As you revisit familiar terrain, anchor yourself with tools that have grown with you, practices that adapt as your needs shift, relationships that honor your evolution, values that stay true even as expression changes. Your anchors are not ink to hold you back. They are meant to support your flight. Spiral integration versus spiritual bypassing. The spiral path asks for honesty. It does not skip over pain. T does not pretend positivity. It invites full spectrum living. Grief and joy. Doubt and clarity. Anger and peace. Spiritual bypassing skips the spiral's depth. Integration honors T. Choose integration. Choose the real. Awakening in daily life. The spiral doesn't always look mystica. L. Sometimes it looks like choosing a kind word over a sharp one. Taking a breath before ting. Saying no without guilt. Staying present through discom. Fort. These are holy acts. This is how awakening lives through you. Reflective prompts. What old patterns are re-emerging with new insight? Where am I being invited to deepen, not escape? What does evolution look like in this season? How can I honor my rhythms without judgment? Practices for embracing the spiral. 1. Spiral mapping. Journal T. Recurring themes in your life. What have they taught you each time? 2. Seasonal rituals. Create rituals that mark TR. Ancession points, solstices, birthdays, anniversaries. Reflect and reset. 3. Recommitment ceremonies. Periodically renew your dedication to your truth, your path, yourself. 4. Self-compassion man. Traz. I am still learning. I am allowed to return. I trust my becoming. 5. Breath as spiral. Visualize your brea. TH as a spiral. Expanding, contracting. Let it guide your awareness inward. Becoming spiral-wise. Those who live the spiral become deeply resilient. They are not rigid. They bend. They break open. They bloom again. Spiral-wise souls. Don't fear revisiting old wounds. They meet them with wisdom. Don't cling to enlightenment. They choose embodiment. Don't judge their pace. They trust their timing. You are becoming spiral-wise. Every return is not a failure. It is a flowering. The journey continues. As you reach the end of this book, know this: you are not finished. And that is beautiful. You will forget. You will remember. You will break. You will rebuild. Each cycle will strip and shape you into more of who you already are. This is awakening, not a peak, but a pool. Let your life spiral deeper into truth. Let your breath spiral back to presence. Let your soul spiral home. You are not behind. You are on the path. And the path is alive. Thank you for walking it with courage, with grace, and with your whole, sacred heart. Conclusion: a living journey. Awakening is not something you do once and are done with. It is a living journey, a process that unfolds in every choice, breath, relationship, and season. It is not a destination to be reached, but a rhythm to live in. You may revisit the same ons. You may re-enter the same quest, ions. But you will never be the same person returning. Each time, you bring more awareness, more compassion, more soul. This book is not meant to give you all the answers. It is here to hold space for your own unfolding. Let its pages companion you, not as doctrine, but as AM. Return to them when you feel lost. Let them remind you that your awakening is sacred, valid, and deeply necessary. You are not alone. You are not late. You are not wrong. You are awakening. And your awakening is a gift, not just to you, but to the world. Thank you for choosing to wake up. Thank you for staying the course. Thank you for remembering who you true LYR. Acknowledgements to the brave souls who dare to look within, to question, to feel, to unravel, and reweave their lives. I honor you to the spiritual teachers, guides, and mentors who have walked ahead and shown the light back. I thank you for your wisdom. To the loved ones who have held space for my own spiral journey. Your presence made the Biko Ming possible. And to the reader holding this book, you are not just reading, you are participating in the sacred. May these words meet you where you are and walk beside you where you are going. With love, Seraphina Hartwell. This authorized audiobook of Breaking the Shell. Accessing Soul History for Wisdom, Clarity, and Guidance 5. Spiritual Awakening Book 7. By Seraphina Hartwell is presented by Soul Sanctuary Audio. Copyright Seraphina Hartwell. For the update audiobook by Click Follow Soul Sanctuary Audio.